I'm going to make a prediction here that 2021 is a lot nastier. And what I mean by that is that we're going to see a year filled with a lot of dissolving alliances, people taking swipes at each other. And I'm not talking about creatives to fans. I'm talking about creators to creators. I'm talking there's a war coming. Let me explain why I think that is what we're in for in 2021. Hey everybody, this is Perch. This is in case of that dramatic music, just kind of fits. It's like, anyway, this is purely a prediction. So you're warned right off the offset. I am making a prediction, and there's a reason behind it. And I think all the factors of the comic industry and where it's heading and where it's going are going to play in for a battle royale of sorts of creators. And to tip this off, so again, I'm not sure when this video will air, probably a few days from now. We're seeing little hints of it. So today, and it plays into why I think some of these things are going to trigger. So today, Tom King posts a bit of an homage to Mark Doyle, his Batman editor, and basically it's his last day because of layoffs, and he's on the way out. And it's a pretty benign post. Just thank you to Mark. And we're I'll miss you, and you were a good guy. He's a visionary editor. He endlessly pushed comics to be better. True legend. And he posted a little thing. It got a lot of likes and everything else. And then out of nowhere, like an hour later, in comes Tom Brevoort, editor in chief at Marvel, who basically says, "Didn't you force him off the Batman titles and then crow about it in an interview? It's a bit odious to cry over the bodies when you had a hand in killing them," which is a punch to the balls. I mean, that's a in terms of criticism, most comic book criticism, most arguments between people tends to be very much in the passive aggressive form. Even when you get like an Alex DeCampi special or something against somebody, and it's like, who is bit to what in the where, and it's like, all right, what is this, like seventh grade? But Brevoort, edits his way to a very succinct, like smack to the balls. And I'm curious how long these posts stay up or what goes on. But it's like a tidal wave comes out, and you see people kind of cheering on both sides. And there's a response to Brevoort that's also funny, like, "Don't you work for the guy who pretended to be an Asian man?" And it's like, damn, I mean, we're going right for it on Friday the 13th, 2020. But at any rate, here's what's going on. So put that aside for a moment. I think 2021 is going to be filled with a lot of that. And here's why. All the right factors are coming into focus all simultaneously. Factor number one, there's going to be a lot of layoffs. Jobs are going to be lost. The true job damage from COVID and everything else, and the shrinking of lines is going to come probably starting about now, but really will bleed into 2021. And DC's been hit, and we see the reaction to that. Marvel is getting hit, and we're going to see the reaction to that. We're going to see fewer comics published. And when there's fewer comics published, two things happen simultaneously. The companies will tend to trend toward established, known creators. They're going to go with people that they know are going to make sales. They're not going to fool around with kind of unknown experiments, buddies who, from the coffee shop down the street. It's going to be a lot more locked down in terms of who's getting to write comics. It's going to be people they're very established with a very tight network that can protect them from low sales, because that's going to become more visible, or it's going to be known entities who can do sales. And that's where it's going to go. Simultaneously, because you're doing less comics, it just means less overall volume for people. So less people getting hired, more care of the people that are getting hired. So this means a lot of people who got a little taste of comics, never really got much into it, are going to be on the outs. Now, that's going to stir up a lot of hard feelings. But then here comes factor number two, and that's that comics has been so unrestrained, so screwed up in how people get hired and kind of HR practices. And I say that, I've said that before at cons to other, and I get rolled eyes. So like the reason why we get into comics, so we don't have to put up with all that corporate crap and all the rest. And okay, but that's the scenario. That dismissal of those rules is exactly why you have, Hansy Warren Ellis or whatever else, and all these other people at these cons who are known for kind of, you know, overly drunken flirt, and we say flirting, but the reality is in comics, there's a large amount of creators who have slept around with each other and gotten high and other things that nothing that most states getting high is legal, but at a con when you're with a bunch of your work buddies, those are all recipes for unprofessional silliness that goes on. And that's how people often got hired, stayed in jobs, everything else. That's where it came from. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that in a world where suddenly there's less jobs, people aren't getting employed. Those kind of network buddy hires aren't there, or at least there's less of them. It means that suddenly people are going to go through the old archives of what they've got on social media or their camera phone or whatever else, and it's like, you know what? Now's the time I'm going to use some of this. Not blackmail, but I'm going to start to throw some of these bombs out because I'm not getting the job I expected to have. So maybe I'll just go ahead and talk about how this one editor basically got me drunk and I slept with him in the hopes of getting a job, and I didn't get that job. So now I'm going to be pissed about it. And so you're going to see, like, if you think 2020 and the allegations about different kind of bad behavior was bad, just you wait, because I think this next year it's going to be way more, just way more of it. Because you take away the prospect of a job, you put a little desperation into the mix of not working somewhere, you get some jealousy over the people who do get jobs and who don't get jobs. It is going to be a freaking free-for-all. The one thing that we have plenty of history established in comics is that people, when they get backed into a corner or when they get kind of angry at somebody else, they take out the knife and they sink it in. And if there's any bad behavior, put it this way, none of this would happen if there wasn't a lot of bad behavior and receipts lying around for things that have gone on over the last 5 years. But unfortunately, I think 2019, last year, like there was unrestrained crazy stuff, like a 70s Coke party was going on in many cases with some of these shows. And you had a lot of nepotism, and you had a lot of silliness, and you had a lot of stuff going on. And I always like this. Oh, but did the people keep the receipts? Yeah, in social media, when you're sending stuff around, when you're texting, like you keep the receipts. The receipts are, you scroll backward in your timeline, and they're all there. You don't need to do anything to keep them. The networks, your phone, the operating system is keeping them for you. You just gotta, scroll up a mile or two, and they're there. And that stuff is going to come out, and it's going to be fierce. And I'm making a prediction right here that some senior people are going to lose their jobs because there's ugly stuff that's going to come rolling out, and we're in for the civil war of comics. So the civil war is it's not like there's two sides. It's going to be a free for all. It is battle royale. So it's the old Japanese movie. It is battle royale for the comic industry. I think it's coming. I think the factor of these shrinkage of the lines, tougher job community, lower pay in some cases, more people doing, needing to do more, and just then finally kind of the last decade of bad behavior comes home to roost. The lack of controls, the inability for the industry to establish just basic HR guidelines with their people, the borrowed time that the industry has lived on by keeping everybody in an independent contractor agreement so they didn't really have to deal with this stuff is now going to come spilling and pouring out. I think the other factor there is that you're seeing more titles come to the indies, and you see a number of creators who got very cozy working for, an established kind of Marvel or DC gig, and they're going to come to discover it's like, hey, maybe I'm not going to make as money off of Image as I thought. And it's going to be interesting. The people who win in all this, those are going to be the people who kind of keep their head down, they produce, they get their work done, they have strong opinions, but they're focused on getting work done. Those are going to be the winners. The recalibration of the comics industry. This is a prediction. So this is what I really truly believe is happening. There's enough signs. It's like people who are predicting earthquakes. It's like the ground is rumbling, and we have enough tremors to know that the big one is coming. And I think, as you know, it's going to be kind of the layoffs at Marvel as they fully hit. Marvel dropping 10-20% of their books because they're slimming down their line. I think that's part two. And then I think it's just kind of the 3 months after that, the realization of a lot of people who expected to get work and have used kind of some of these tactics to cause trouble in 2018, 2019. They'll go to that well much more aggressively in 2020. And of course, it all burns down, but it's going to be a crazy thing. Get your popcorn ready. Now, it bears saying, none of this is good for comics. I mean, keep in mind, I love the like a lot of videos, like we just need to burn it all down. Burning it all down is not a good thing for anything. Sometimes you may think you need to do it. Sometimes you may go, well, I see nothing good out of this, so let's start over. That's all fine. But what people often forget, they get to the things are really bad, and then they get to and then everything will be better. And they forget like that middle part, the burning things down part. Fire kind of indiscriminately tends to burn everyone. And so it's not like all the problem people get burned and all the good people are just fine. It's like when Seattle burned down its own town because it needed to have better roads. It's like, yeah, we got better roads, but I mean, that wasn't a good thing. That wasn't a happy day in history for anyone. And so sometimes that the means justify the ends. I mean, it sounds good. It's a good slogan, but it's not as simple as that. Hey, what do you think? A prediction crazy? Accurate? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. Most importantly, thank you for listening.